I don't know how I didn't like come across it.
I mean, we even say, I feel like after she's telling
Yeah, it's one more.
yeah.
Trent's getting this for posterity.
Mr. Johnson asked me to send me a picture.
We've never, not often, get it in the room. It's true. It's true. Sure.
And then I say,
The lights.
oh, you did this. It's supposed to be chocolate.
Sure.
Oh, yes. We need to get into the airport. It's just,
We're in a meeting, when that came up, they all looked at me like, you need to get that now.
Yeah.
I just said, send her the application right there.
Yeah, I told my dad. Yes.
I think you're never going. Big trophy. Hard not, hard not to. I remember a golf club there. That seemed like another life. Long time.
Great, thanks. Give it a couple weeks. Thank you.
Good evening. It is 7 p.m. on Monday, July 16th. At this time, I'd like to remind everyone to silence cell phones. Please sign in if you're a guest or visitor. I'd also like to remind visitors, in order to facilitate an effective meeting, anyone that wishes to make public comments to the board, please read the visitor guidelines found at the table outside the door and complete the public participation form and get those to Jennifer. Other than that, I'll officially call us to order at 7 p.m. And could we have roll call for attendance, please?
Giles.
Here.
Raver. Hendricks.
Here.
Cassim. Larson. Here. Park. Here. McComb.
Here. At this time, we will stand for the pledge, and I'm excited to have 3 students here tonight to help lead the pledge. Katie Hunter, Taylor Mills, and Chandler Mills. Yeah, so everybody stand. Yeah, everybody come right up front. Face the flag. We have to find the flag in the new room. Okay. Girls, go right ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Okay. Board members, you've had a chance to review the agenda for tonight's meeting. Are there any proposed additions or changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Merle. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion on the agenda? All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Board members, you've also had an opportunity to review the consent agenda for tonight's meeting prior to arrival. The consent agenda tonight includes minutes of previous meetings, includes bills to be paid, it includes the treasurer's report, some personnel changes, and some record management issues. Is there anyone who would like to pull anything out of the consent agenda for further discussion or individual discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Lori. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jenny. Further discussion on the consent agenda? Jennifer, we need a roll call vote, please.
Park. Yes. Castle. Raver. Giles.
Yes.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Larson. Yes. McComb.
Yes, and with that, we just approved the hiring of some new staff and personnel, and Dr. Nicole Romo is going.
New high school PE teacher. So Jansen grew up in Champaign, graduated from U of I in 2016. He spent the last year and a half teaching PE and health at a middle school in Champaign. Currently lives in Champaign and enjoys sports and being physically active through working out in athletics. He also enjoys spending time with family and friends, being outside, coaching. He's very excited to be joining our team this fall. So please join me in welcoming Jansen to the high school. So also joining us tonight, I have Nicole Beck. Nicole will be an 8th grade special education teacher, so she'll be joining us at the junior high. She grew up outside of Chicago, graduated from the University of Illinois as well. She graduated in 2014 with a bachelor's in special education. She taught 2 years at Ready in Champaign and then 2 years at Glendale Heights, teaching 7th and 8th grade. She has just recently moved back to the area and after spending 2 years in Chicago. In her free time, she enjoys hanging out with her family and her 1-year-old nephew. She enjoys reading, watching Netflix, and spending time outdoors. She too is excited to be joining our school district in the fall and is excited to be working with our students and staff. So please join me in welcoming Nicole.
Okay, now we have a just stunning agenda for the rest of the evening. It will be a lot of fun. But sometimes folks who have just been hired would like to take the opportunity right now to slip out and not stay. So if you'd like to stay,
Thank you.
okay, full disclosure, no one's ever stayed. You can always do that option. All right. Donations. Right, I understand there are no donations this month.
That is true.
So we're just gonna skip right by that. Communication from the PTO. MSEA. Anything from the foundation?
We haven't met, so no.
Foundation's not met. Anything from visitors? I've
No.
received nothing. Okay. So right now, it's time for board communications. It typically focuses on building reports. And we'll just go down the line. Jenny, anything to add tonight?
I don't have anything to report. Just track.
Okay, Lori?
I'm just excited that this is all going really well and we're head start. We're ready to get going here in a month.
Jeremy?
Very impressed with what I've seen so far and the few little previews that I've had, so.
Yeah, kind of fun. I'm a little distracted by the
Actually,
playground. We didn't, the old room, we had no view.
Yeah, I like that.
Now we have a view, this could be a problem. Merle?
I just want to echo those sentiments. It was some years ago that we decided to buy enough acreage to do something we didn't know what to do with.
Mm-hmm.
But we figured that out, over the years, and it's nice to be able to easily add this addition here.
For those who have not been in the new park, if you're up on the second floor, there is just the best views in Mahomet are from the second floor. It's very pretty up there. So we're pretty excited. we're told that we're gonna be open on time, right?
Absolutely.
So we moved everything out of the other building, we have no choice.
Better be.
Well, we have some special guests with us tonight. And we've got Coach Todd LaFond here with boys track. Coach LaFond was the News Gazette Coach of the Year for the second year in a row. And we had some guys just go to state this year and do just a great job. And would you like to stand up and introduce who you got with you tonight? And tell us about what they accomplished.
Got Hunter Hendershot.
Coach, why don't you step over to the podium?
Okay, step to the podium, that's right.
Oh, boy. Never know what's gonna happen when I step to the podium. Hunter Hendershot, stand up, come on up here. Hunter just completed his sophomore year, and his freshman year got 6th and 7th, got it right, in the shot and disc. And this year won the shot and got 3rd in disc.
Yep.
And tells me he's gonna win both next year.
One, just to be, so everybody knows, one at where?
Sorry?
One where? When he won the shot.
Oh, at state meet.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry.
right.
I'm sorry. So he is.
Just so
he
we're
is
clear.
He is state
State
champion.
champ,
Yeah.
Come on, Brett. Brandon Bretz is graduated and is going to be going to SIU Edwardsville and qualified for the state meet in the 400 last year as well as this year. Got 3rd as a junior and got 6th as a senior. And we'll be running track and field, as I said, at SIUE. Kellen Whitehouse's family is here, but Kellen's taking class at Parkland tonight. Kellen broke our school record in the pole vault this year and won the state championship in pole vault with 16 feet, right, Dad? And we'll be competing at Indiana State University in pole vault. 2 other guys that are not here, Riley Fortune competed in the 800 as well as the 1600 and got 9th in the 800, and we'll be competing in track and field at Illinois State University. And then our 5th competitor was Matthias Pava, who's a junior, well, he's a senior now, was a junior, got 2nd in the 3200. He'll tell you he should have won. He had the lead with about 5 meters to go and got caught, and is very disappointed in that, but he's planning on winning it next year. But we took home the 2nd place trophy, and we're pretty happy about these guys. Appreciate them being here. Okay.
We did?
Yeah, they got their medals.
What do they look like?
Put them on.
Yeah.
Put them on. Make you look handsome and go stand up there. Go on.
Wow.
Whoa. Those are pretty good. Cool.
Do I have to escort you?
Let's get a picture of one by the,
Yeah, okay, stand by the trophy.
here,
Congratulations,
we'll put the trophy on the podium.
Seymour?
No.
Okay, thank you.
We don't get to do this very often, so we need to. Here, stand over here, guys.
Coach, why don't you stand up there?
Yeah, coach, we need coach. All right.
I'll stay behind. I'll see you.
All right.
Get over here on the side, Brett. It's not like putting on a tie. Just put the thing on.
Trent does not want to be in the photo. Let me get the camera on herself. All right, 1, 2, 3. Right there. 1, 2, 3, go dogs.
Go Bulldogs.
Perfect. Thank you for taking time out of your summer to come so we can do that. That is great. And just like the new hires, you are all welcome to stay. It will be a fun and eventful meeting. But if you'd like to leave, you're more than welcome to do that. and that's what most people
I
would,
think we'll take your offer.
that's what most people would do right
Thanks for
now.
coming. Good luck in college.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks, gang. Parents, congratulations. Okay. Well, normally we'd go from that uplifting topic to something that's not usually as much fun, and that's the financial update from John Huxell. However, I hear that tonight it's going to be a riveting and fun financial update, so without further ado, John
People just
Huxell.
remind me, for the second month in a row following it behind more track state champs, so last time it was the gals that won
New
400
program
meters.
we've got going.
Uh-huh.
You just have to put more colors in your presentations.
Or wear running shoes and some bulldog, they might think you're a kid.
That's all right. So yeah, like Max said, we have some pretty decent news this evening. So fiscal year 2018 financial summary. We'll jump right into it with the summary of all the funds, although it didn't show up as big as I was hoping. But the Ed Fund, all 9 funds that are listed. The operating funds we'll come back to at a later slide, but debt service went down slightly. We expected that going into this year. There's a transfer that we're going to make in this next fiscal year that will account for that, and that was approved by the board a few months ago. IMRF fund has been going down the last few months. It actually made a little bit of a gain this year. Capital projects always has the biggest variation. We went into the year at $9 million, and we're as of the end of June, 44.1 million. But again, we know why that went down. We're standing in it. So
My bad. Keeps going sleep.
the TOR fund started the year at around 600,000, ended at 672, so that went up as well. Again, that fund is used for.
I'm moving a bit more into the tech fund.
Do that. TOR fund being mostly used for security, risk management, insurance, that kind of thing. Life safety, we got one screen. Life safety, not a fund we use real often, but we have been recently approved for some roof repairs in that fund. So we had a few of those bills in this most recent fiscal year. So those are all 9 funds, but now we'll kind of drill down on the 4 operating funds that we typically focus on, starting with a review of the days of cash on hand, fund balance targets, as we've called them for the last 5-6 years. We looked at all 4 of the funds. They're under 3 different financial conditions: strained, balanced, and strong. And as we all know, and I plan to sit with Dr. Hendricks as well, and he is interested in learning about this too. These are kind of our target fund balances in each of those 4 funds, depending on that financial condition. So it has served as kind of a metric for how we gauge the financial health of the district. And that will make more sense when we get to the next few slides here. So we ended FY17 in those 4 funds, as shown, $5.7 million total, about 88.26 days of cash on hand, which again, the previous slide I didn't mention, but we average about $2 million in expenses per month, so that's how we come up with the days cash on hand. If we drop to FY18, we projected in the budget that we would drop down to 85, almost 86 days of cash on hand, with a budget deficit of about $150,000 in those operating funds. That actually went up. In terms of the actual numbers here, $743,000 to the good. I haven't said that since I started my career in Mahomet, Seymour, so it's official. We went up about 9 days there. So I didn't mean to go to the next slide.
He's just gonna keep it on there.
Yeah, I don't blame you, I like that slide a lot.
Just leave me with the next one. All right. Yeah, so mostly, in terms of the actual numbers, mostly having to do with revenue for once again, since I've been here since started my career at Mahomet, Seymour. But on the expense side, we've typically been under budget. We were about right on budget this time, but that gain was all in the revenue, and I haven't really given the state credit since I've been here either, because it's been nothing but
No need.
less money. So this year they came through with the new evidence-based funding model, which we budgeted for going into, but we didn't budget. What we didn't budget for were the tier funding dollars that came in April, May, June. That was about $263,000 again that we received. All of that did not budget for it. The last 2 or 3 months of the year, we received 2 additional mandated categorical state payments that we, again, didn't budget for. Did not expect that at all. but we saw that come through. Timing of TIF payments came in where it increased the fund balance, as well as just property taxes overall. That we've seen going up the last several years, and it continues to. And we always budget conservatively in that line item, and that surpassed our expectations there as well. So again, the gain almost 100% having to do with the revenue side as opposed to cutting back expenses. If you look at that in a historical perspective, going back to FY11, about 90 days of cash on hand, continue to drop the next couple of years. In FY14, there's a spike. That would have otherwise fallen from 76.49 days down to 70, but we issued a working cash bond for $2 million that year. We had that launch pad going into FY13. We wanted to look at every bit of low-hanging fruit. I know we've overused that term, but we did that, and we kind of left the working cash bond as a last resort. We issued that, and that kind of served as a way to get through the next few years, frankly, in the valley of where the state funding was the lowest. And I feel like we've made that at this point, and now we're heading back upwards with those days of cash on hand. This slide actually starts the agenda item later. Any questions in terms of the information presented to this point?
The tier funding that we did get, did that take a special resolution out of Springfield? Did they give it to us anyway? Did the lowest tier get everything they were supposed to statewide?
I don't know about the lowest tier, tier 4. Again, the tier 4 money doesn't amount to much, but I think it was in the formula from the start, so it didn't require an additional resolution. But I don't know, tier 4 funds, I would imagine they were all distributed based on what was available. Lindsay, is that your understanding?
Yeah, and remembering that tier 4 school districts are the wealthiest in the state, and I mean they were receiving a tiny percentage of the appropriation. But from what I've heard, we waited most of the fiscal year to start getting those disbursements, but we got 2 in April, 2 in May, and 2 in June, and got us up to where we needed to be. And each year, and so it's dependent upon where we fall in the spectrum of all the schools. Does that?
I just recall that there was a lot of angst about whether anything would be funded without some special resolution. This is really surprising.
Yeah. Again, going into next year, the expectation from us is that we would receive a new funding base funding minimum, which is last year's base funding minimum plus the tier funding that compounds year over year. Like you're saying, we'll believe it when we see it, but hoping for the best.
So Trent, thinking back over the last several years, what's the best we've ever done to the budget?
You're seeing it.
Besides that, well, yeah.
2 years ago, we were 400,000 in the black. And then we dropped a little bit last year, coming back to because the state started backing off on the mandated categorical payments.
Right.
By about $350,000 going into.
And back when you first got here, we were in deficits of
close to $1 million in some years.
Yeah.
Going back to that point,
what I remember.
Yeah.
I remember $700,000 deficit.
Sure. Yeah, that wouldn't be uncommon year over year.
Good to be on the other side of that.
Yeah, it is, absolutely.
So that took a lot of work. Good deal.
Any other
Questions for Trent?
Thank you. We'll circle back to the rest of that at the agenda item later.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next, superintendent report, Dr. Hall.
thank you. Well, out of the gate, I want to start with introducing our new school resource officer. Officer Bill Ward is here this evening. We welcome you to the school district for 9 months. So thanks for being here tonight. We're thrilled to have been able to enter into this agreement with the village and look forward to you starting in just a couple weeks in August. And Chief Metzler, I don't know if you want to add
Yeah,
words of wisdom.
I just wanted to add our appreciation for the cooperation that we've had with not only the board here, but each of the schools, the relationships that we've been able to build think this position and this program will continue to build that relationship and strengthen it as we go forward. So, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Bill. Just a couple of other items out on the table and available for people to pick up, and also in your folders is a flyer about an author and speaker that is going to be available for all of our parents to come and see on Thursday evening, August 9th. Deborah Heidner is going to be talking about raising kids in a digital world and digital citizenship, and so this fits right in with our personal devices initiative for 6th through 12th graders, but she is coming to talk to parents who have children of all ages, so we invite and welcome everybody that evening to the high school auditorium. And she does also have a book out that I know will be available that evening, but I'm very pleased that Dr. Rummel could get her scheduled and to come to speak to our parents. We are having our grand opening and ribbon cutting here at Middletown Prairie on Sunday afternoon, August 12th. Jennifer is getting together addresses to mail out invitations, but the entire community is invited. We'll do the ribbon cutting at 2:15 down here in the new foyer. Beautiful area. And then after that, it'll just be kind of an open house format with the building open for our community to walk through. So we're very, very excited, and the building is looking great. If you saw certain areas today, you might not believe it's going to be ready, but it will be ready.
August 6th.
We are in good shape. Absolutely.
Completion date.
Yep, so we've also, speaking of starting school, that's just in about 5 short weeks. So online registration is open, as is Kids Club registration, open today. So we're inching closer toward that first day of school. And also just wanted to mention that a colleague of mine, Dr. P.J. Kaposi, who is the superintendent of the Meridian School District, is coming to talk to our administrative team on July 30th to talk about teacher evaluation. He is a young man who's an incredible leader as a superintendent in our state, and really happy that he can spend some time with us on that day. So that's the report.
Good. Questions for Dr. Hall? Okay, thank you. Next, we're down into new business. The first item on the agenda is approval of the 4-year agreement we just negotiated between the MSEA and Mahomet Seymour Board of Education. Board members, you have had the opportunity to be briefed on the contract. You've had an opportunity to look at the contract. We do plan on issuing a joint statement with the MSEA by tomorrow. That'll outline some of the specifics of the contract. But we're pleased that we're able to do a 4-year agreement. We're pleased that it was done in a pretty timely manner, and it's here in July. And the MSEA approved it at their recent meeting.
really do appreciate the attitude that they came in with, and thinking that we're all a team and we need to get to the end place in the same goal.
It was very much respectful, golden rule.
Yeah.
Any abstain? Because of family situation, employment in the district. If there's no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve the contract as it's been presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'm wishing a second for the people who helped negotiate it, that's always positive. Further discussion? Need a roll call vote.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Park,
Yes.
Cassim, Larson,
Yes.
Giles,
Abstain.
Raver, McComb.
Yes. Okay, and the contract's approved. Good to operate through 2022.
That will also be posted on our website within a couple of weeks, but we're just finishing up formatting, like table of contents and all of those good things. It's not quite in its final state. It's a huge document.
Yeah, huge document. Okay. Next, Jared Lynn, approval of the technology service agreement.
First of all, I want to apologize for the old bugs in the room. We'll get it sorted out. It's the first time actually fully full and using it. It works most of the time. Whenever Dr. Hall this morning and I were testing it out, it was working fine. So
We're gonna cut in half.
that's fine. That's a different agreement.
Right now, it looks like it works, except when we're wanting to show something really important, like
Every 8 minutes. In any case,
That's okay.
in your board packet, you have information in regards to a contract that we renew every single year with Farah Ibrahim and Microsystems International. This is a yearly contract that we work with them. It is my recommendation that you guys approve this contract. We still very much rely heavily on Farad and his team. They're a great group of people to work with, and I have nothing but very positive things to say about them.
Board members, you've had an opportunity to review that document. Are there any questions for Jared?
No changes in the contract. It's exactly the same as last year.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Hearing no questions for Jared, I'd entertain a motion to approve the technology service agreement as presented.
So.
Thank you, Jeremy. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Cassim, Giles,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Raver, Park,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
McComb.
Yes. All right. Trent Nuxel for a couple annual items. The first is working cash inter-fund loan and inter-fund loan.
Right.
Okay.
So this agenda item is like Max said, an annual item that we look to.
It's gonna be less amused by the title.
It's about as simple as that. So the working cash interfund loan, we do use that every year in that low point in the cash flow. For us, that's February through May, when it's right before our property taxes. We receive those from the county. So we essentially loan money from the working cash fund to whatever fund needs that. It has historically been O&M, well, Ed fund, O&M, well, the operating funds essentially, and now including IMRF when it gets to some of its low points. So that's when we have used the working cash interfund loans. The interfund loan, the separate one, I believe that's the one that is up to $500,000 amongst any fund. We haven't used that since I've been here, but this just allows us the availability to use that if need be. I don't foresee that happening.
So the first part of this, just to be clear, approves loans between working cash and the operating funds and IMRF.
Correct.
The second part of that would be between the different funds.
Up to $500,000 among specified funds in that resolution.
Yeah, but we've never done that, it's just something we've always been able to make with working cash loans. Perfect.
And so this is done every July, just in case these inter-fund transfers are needed at some time during the school year when our
Right.
cash flows
Sure. Yep.
is low.
And again, that working cash interfund loan, we have done that every year since I've been here. And that just has become somewhat of the structure of our cash flow. You know, we do that loan and we pay it all back in June, and then we end, hopefully similar to what we just did.
Right, and we have to approve it in June to have it in place. So we use it.
So that is the first agenda item.
All right. So you've heard the explanation on the inter-fund loans, the working cash inter-fund loan and the inter-fund loan. Is there a motion to approve the loans as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Merle. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, I think that was Lori.
Jenny?
Jenny, sorry. Further discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Raver, Larson,
Here.
Park,
Yes. Yes, and I'm here.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Casson, Giles,
Yes.
Monroe.
Yes. And then Trent, item 4, authorization of resolution for permanent transfer from.
Okay,
That's fine.
should I just do the over the air stuff?
When it's keeps, as in like.
Percents.
That's it. There you go.
We make this look easy.
Sometimes.
So this is where we left off with the presentation earlier. Again, looking at the operating fund balance targets. Drop in FY 17-18 that we just finished, and we see the, it's just an easy way to compare, where we landed there, and as that would fit into the fund balance targets. What we've traditionally done in the last 3 or 4 years is look at each one of those funds and determine, do we have to make a permanent transfer from working cash to any of the funds that need that. So if we look first at the Ed fund, it is right within $50,000 of being in that balanced condition. So I'm not going to propose any permanent transfer from working cash to the Ed fund. O&M could use a little bit of a bump there, so I am going to propose a $100,000 permanent transfer to that fund from working cash, and then about $150,000 from working cash to transportation. These are similar amounts that we have, again, in the last 3 or 4 years transferred from working cash. Just kind of depends on which of those 3 funds we transfer to. But that will be, if we move forward with that transfer, this is where the fund balances will fall. And again, it's a good spot going into FY19 with those operating fund balances in consideration of those targets that we set in place back in 2012. So that will be the recommendation for this agenda item, would be a transfer of those amounts. Any questions there?
Roughly how far behind is that transportation fund from the state over some years? Just
In terms of the payments coming into that?
Yeah.
Well, at this point, the majority of our mandated categorical payments are transportation because really there's only 3 remaining: regular transportation, special ed transportation, and then there's one that goes into O&M for private facility special ed funds. So when we received those last 2 payments, which essentially got them caught up so they're paid up through the 4th quarter in FY18. So we're 1 payment from that in transportation. So we're as close as we've ever been, I guess, to answer your question. Yeah, those last 2 payments were very important in terms of landing it where. Otherwise, we were projecting a pretty deep drop in transportation fund balance this year. Not expecting those payments to come through, but
So even though we're transferring money in, we're transferring in less money than we anticipated.
right. Mm-hmm. We're projecting about $200,000 less in terms of the fund balance as compared to where it landed, which was, what, 311? So it was.
Superintendent recommends the Board of Education authorize the resolution for permanent transfer from working cash fund as presented by Trent. Is there a motion to do that?
so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion or questions for Trent? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Giles,
Yes.
Raver, Hendricks,
Yes.
Casson, Larson,
Yes.
Park,
Yes.
McCombs.
Yes. Thank you, Trent.
Thank you.
Item 5 under new business, approval of Kriya Law, LLC as school attorney. Dr. Hall.
Well, Darcy Kriya has been a longtime attorney with our school district. She's up until recently worked with Franzek Radley, which is the school district has had a relationship with that law firm for a couple of decades. And this spring, Darcy has decided to start her own law firm focusing on school and educational law. And we're currently in the midst of several situations with who Darcy is representing us. And so this vote just allows us to officially retain her new law firm as one of our legal counsels. There's several that we use, and we want to continue to work with her. She's done an outstanding job for many years.
Superintendent recommends the board to approve Creola LLC as our official roster attorneys. And the recommendations as presented. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there further discussion or questions for Dr. Hall? So basically, if we approve this, we will have Creola, Franzik, and Miller Tracy
Correct.
as the three attorney groups around. Very good. Roll call vote, please.
Larson,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Giles,
Yes.
Park, yes, Graver, Casem, and McComb.
Yes. Item 6, superintendent contract, and I'm, I guess, presenting that. Last month, we approved all administrator contracts, except our superintendent. We needed just a little bit of time to work through that. But Dr. Hall has been with us a full year now. My, how the time has flown, to quote a previous board president. We had some significant discussion about this, I think, in closed session. And I think we released that contract with the packet for this meeting. So the proposed contract is public. There were a few compared to the original contract from a year ago, there were a few housekeeping changes, just reflective of the fact that she's been here a year and there are some things that didn't need to be there anymore. Initially there was a requirement to move to the district within such and such a date and some things like that really don't apply now that she's here. It was the feeling of the board when we last discussed this that originally we approved a 5-year contract with Dr. Hall. We would have 4 years left on that contract, and it was the desire of the board to go ahead and extend a 5th year back on and keep it as a 5-year deal. So the contract we will vote tonight to approve is a 5-year contract. And then originally, she was also the only administrator in the district where we had not spelled out compensation on her contract other than the current year. So after some considerable discussion, we went ahead and did that piece. And those numbers are on the contract, and that's all been released. You've all seen that, and that's now public information. So I'm going to recommend, I guess, that we approve that contract as we discussed and as you have seen and as it's presented tonight. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second, okay. Discussion, comments, questions?
I told Lindsay when I got here tonight, but if you don't know, I also work in public education for the university and other schools, and I was stopped on Saturday evening from a former student in our district who was telling me how pleased they were with her visibility to our parents and our staff at being things, and how they're gone and they're like, man, we gotta come back, and they had moved away. And I just thought that was a really nice compliment to have someone tell us about our district and the leadership that we have. And I'm excited for the year because we're gonna have a lot of new people.
Anybody else? Okay. Well, I think as I look back to the first year together, it's a lot of things. We worked with a lot of things that we knew were coming. We worked with some things that we didn't think were coming. But it's been a huge year. There's been a lot going on. And just the fact that we've made it through it in fine style and managed to keep our sanity with everything that's been going on, and when we get moved into the new building on time, we're already mostly moved in. And I just want to say on behalf of the board, we appreciate your leadership over the last year. We're looking forward to the next 5. And it was pretty clear when we did interviews almost 2 years ago now, where we felt we needed to go and what we felt we needed to do. And this last year, I think it's just been solidified with us that it was the right decision to make. So, thank you. And if no one else has anything to say, if we get a roll call vote on the contract, please.
Park?
Yes.
Cassim? Raver? Giles?
Yes.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Larson?
Yes.
McComb?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for your support, but I'm honored to work here and serve the community and work with so many great staff members and parents and all of you. So very, very grateful. Thank you.
Very good. And speaking of more of our staff, Dr. Romo. Approved math textbook adoption.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. We presented on it at our last meeting. So if there's no question, we'll just be looking to adopt the textbooks for Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and our traditional courses. That would not include the honors courses. It would also, however, include Algebra 1A this year and then Algebra 1B starting next year.
I don't think anybody came in and looked at the books.
That's what I was gonna ask. I was gonna say.
Shocking.
They have been there, so, no, and I talked with our rep today. I know they've done a great job. All of our teachers have had teachers editions. They've already had some training. Student editions were on the loading dock there at the company today, so they were caught them just in time to get the high school address on them instead of the unit office address at 85 cases. So hopefully they'll be arriving at the high school shortly. So.
That was a good call.
Yeah.
Although we have an unloading area here now.
Yes.
We actually could have unloaded them if they were shipped here.
I think our custodial staff will be very grateful if they go directly to the high school.
They will.
Drive them on the line.
Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the math textbook adoption as it was presented. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion or questions?
Not a question, but a comment. Thank you for all your work with that over the last year. I know that it started and it went, and now we're getting over the hump, and I appreciate that.
Thanks. The teachers have done a lot of work, and
Yeah.
I appreciate the hours they put in reviewing materials and meeting with reps.
Thank you, Shannon, and the high school.
This would be a good, positive step forward.
Yes.
It's such a pretty book.
It is.
Do you know one of the author's names on that book?
Yeah.
It's Larson.
No.
I didn't write it, don't worry.
This.
I am not related to
this
them
may
either,
cause
but
us
I
to
looked at that.
reconsider this whole plan.
That was the deciding factor.
I just looked at it.
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right. Hearing no other significant discussion on this. We actually roll call vote, please.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Park? Yes. Cassim? Larson?
Yes.
Giles?
Yes.
Raver? McComb?
Yes. Item 8, it's also Dr. Rummel. Last month you talked to us about the acceleration program.
Yep, so as I mentioned, that's a new law, went into effect July 1 from the state. We're still, I think, working out the details of what it will look like here, but had some positive communications within the region last week through the regional office, and hoping to network with some of the other rural districts in Champaign County and with the ROE to get some assistance with not only what procedures might look like within the district with this, but if you're following the Iowa acceleration scale, there's some testing that's required in that. So we're hoping to work with the ROE so that testing responsibility doesn't fall on our sites. Some support that way. So there'll be more to come once we finalize that, and what that's going to look like.
Superintendent recommends we approve the acceleration program policy as was presented by Dr. Hummel. This one to us last month. Is there a motion to do that?
So move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Further discussion and questions? State says we don't really have a choice, right?
That would be correct.
It says I need to do this on a roll call, probably because it's a policy, right? So roll call vote, please.
Casson, Giles,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Raver, Park. Yes. Hendricks.
Yes.
McComb.
Yes, and speaking of policies, press update and policy changes, Dr. Hall.
Well, we have a large table of these changes that's included in your board packet. Dr. Casson and Mrs. Larson and I met last week as the policy committee to review quite a few of these changes, and they are, if you read through and as you read through the changes, they're clarifications, they're changes to footnotes, and there's nothing substantial in these policy changes that would cause us to change our practice or change anything significant that we do. So this is the first reading for these changes. This brings us up to date with all of the press updates. We should expect another one in the fall. So when we do have significant policy changes like the acceleration policy, either Dr. Rummel or I or Trent would present that as kind of a standalone revision. But what you see tonight before you with all these updates they're very minor, pretty much adopting all of them as presented and recommended by press. There's a couple of clarifications, but overall we're taking them as presented to us. And so these will be back on the August agenda for a vote. If you have any questions in the meantime, happy to talk with anybody about those.
Okay. Questions for Dr. Hall on the policy changes? Well, we moved right through the regular agenda tonight, but I would point out that even though the discussion on those went fairly quick, it represented a lot of work by a lot of people, particularly the contract work on both the MSCA and Dr. Hall's contract. Certainly the textbook, there's a lot that went in behind the scenes. The items we moved through fairly quickly tonight, so I'd like to thank everybody who was involved in those for all their work on that and making that happen, for the briefings we've had to get us to this point tonight so we can take action on those, and we just appreciate everything our staff does to keep things moving smoothly in the district. At this time, a closed session is necessary for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee of the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee to determine its validity. That's the only reason we're going to closed session, correct?
Correct.
Correct, all right. So I need a roll call vote to go into closed session at this time. Well, first of all, I guess I need a motion to go into closed session for that reason.
So
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. And then I need a roll call vote to approve that.
Raver, Larson,
Yes.
Park. Yes. Hendricks.
Yes.
Casson, Giles.
Yes.
McComb.
Yes, so we'll take a few minutes to clear the room. We thank everyone for being here tonight. We are not anticipating any business at the end of closed session.
Thank you for that.
Thank you all for being here.